needs a sniper rifle when you've got the mighty SMA, am I right? What's happening, guys? My name is Grizno and welcome to Guns with Griz. Today we are looking at the P90, which was suggested by two of you guys actually, Eben and Xavier Courtney. Thanks for the suggestion, guys, and keep them coming, everyone else. I can't do this series without you. Leave your primary weapon suggestion for next week in the comments below. But let's dive right in here, and we'll see if the scale of badassery can hold the weight of the P90's awesomeness. It's stat time, I said it's stat time. The P90 will do its maximum damage of 21 inside 8 meters before damage begins to drop off, ending at 60 meters where it will do its minimum damage of 11.2. The P90 has a very high rate of fire at 900 rounds per minute, and its reload times are 3.45 seconds when empty and 2.45 seconds with a round still in the chamber. The P90 also has a very large magazine at 50 rounds plus 1 in the chamber for 51 total. Muzzle velocity is 460 meters per second, and I'm going to place the recoil in the high category because compared to most of the other PDWs, the P90 probably has the second highest recoil pattern in the class. So let's start with that, the bad recoil. I'll start there because that is probably the first thing you're going to notice about using the P90. It kicks like the dickens in all directions. The only PDW that has equal or worse recoil, I guess, is the CZ3A1, and even then, I'm not even entirely sure which one is worse. The CZ definitely has the higher upwards recoil, but the P90 has a lot of side-to-side recoil, which I actually find more challenging to deal with rather than just the straight-up vertical recoil. But I will say this, even though the recoil is kind of rough, it's certainly not as bad as it was before the visual recoil patch. Since they implemented that visual recoil fix, all weapons with higher recoil values are now a bit easier to use, and the P90 here is no exception. All I'm saying is, if you don't generally like weapons that have higher recoil, then you might want to skip over the P90. And again, the real problem here is the side-to-side recoil that it has. I find side-to-side harder to counter, but that's just me. Now, you could use a compensator for your barrel attachment here and try to alleviate some of that side-to-side motion, but I feel that actually hurts you because you lose accuracy in rapid fire, which is where I spend most of my time while using this weapon at least. The P90 is a total CQBeast with that high rate of fire, and being able to hold that trigger down and melt people is basically paramount to your success while using this weapon. And that right there is probably the main reason why you would choose this weapon. In close quarters, the P90 is hard to beat with that 900 round per minute rate of fire and pretty good hip fire accuracy as well, which is also something you want your PDW to have. The P90 is deadly from the hip, especially when you add that laser sight on there like I did here. I mean, just look how tight those crosshairs are even when I'm on the move. So don't be afraid to just spray this thing from the hip in close, as that split second you save from not ADSing actually might end up winning you a lot more close-up encounters. But there is one more thing you need to watch out for on the P90, and that is its long reload times. Comparable to the MX4 and the the P90 has one of the longer sets of reload times at 3.45 seconds for the full and 2.45 seconds for the tactical reload. 2.5 seconds is a long time to be out of the fight, and that's if you manage to hit the reload button before you completely dump your mag. If not, you're going to have to deal with that awful full reload time of 3.5 seconds. But to be fair, with a 50 round magazine, it's not hard to hit that tac reload every time. But even with hitting the tac reload every time, you still got to be careful when you choose to reload because it takes you out of the fight for quite a long time, and if you have that frequent reload syndrome like I do, it can definitely end up screwing you over. So that is pretty much the 411, I guess, on the P90's strengths and weaknesses, at least statistically speaking. The only other thing I didn't mention is the muzzle velocity. 460 meters per second is actually on the higher side of the rest of the PDWs, and it's kind of on par with it is on par with the PDW-R, which I find to be one of the more effective choices for PDWs at medium range. It can be tough to find a PDW that you can be effective with outside of close quarters. The P90 isn't really that great at it either, unfortunately. Because of the side-to-side recoil and the 8-meter damage drop-off starting distance, the P90's higher muzzle velocity doesn't really become that much of a factor. While your bullets will reach your target faster than a lot of the other PDWs, and it makes it easier to hit moving targets, the side-to-side recoil still makes it hard to hit those like consecutive shots at longer ranges. So, you know, a higher muzzle velocity doesn't really help the P90 that much, if you ask me. Okay, so let's talk setups for the P90. Usually I would have 2 different loadouts for you guys, but in reality the P90 is only good at one thing: melting people's faces in close quarters combat. So really, I think 2 attachments are a must here, and those are the stubby grip and the laser sight. I suppose a case could be made for the flashlight or the tack light if you were playing on the Hurt Locker like I am here. Might be useful at times. But that's the thing, might be useful only in certain opportune moments. The laser, on the other hand, is always going to be useful to tighten up that hipfire spread. But yes, the stubby is what you want on there so that you can hold down that trigger for days. And what do you do when you're playing the engineer class on the locker and you come to a corner camp fest like this and you don't have any explosives? Use your slams! Boom! Nice little multi-kill there with the slams. Kind of a troll-a-lowly little thing to do, but, you know, I like it. Back to the attachments though, the barrel and the optic attachments are kind of open-ended. I say that as a question because I really don't see any merit into putting anything other than a short-range optic on it, like an ACOG or any medium range for that matter. You're gonna want to use the short-range optic for sure. Which one though is up to you. In this video I decided to use the Cobra, which is never a bad decision if you ask me. And for the barrel, I would say you've got a couple options. Choose either the muzzle brake, flash hider, or the suppressor if you want to add a stealth element to your P90 game. Overall, I think the P90 is an excellent choice for a map like Locker, Pro Market, or any map that you find yourself in a lot of close quarters gunfights. This has traditionally been the P90's core strength, and the tradition continues. Now we've reached the moment I know you've all been waiting for. It's time the P90 faces the scale of badassery. Now, the P90 is pretty good, but it's really only good at 1 or 2 things, so for that reason, it lands itself at 6 out of a possible 10 Raylan Givens. It's definitely good in CQB, but beyond that, puts you at a kind of a disadvantage to everyone out there running basically anything but a shotgun, which is a lot of people. If you don't know who Raylan Givens is, you should probably go watch Justified right now. But that about sums things up for this week on Guns with Griz. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found the video both entertaining and informative enough to earn a like or maybe even a subscription if you're new to the channel. Make sure you leave a comment down below letting me know which weapon you would like to see hit the scales next week. That's gonna do it for your old pal Griz, but I'll see you all again very soon. Later.